You're consuming microplastics every single day in your water, in your food, in your cookware, in your takeout containers, in the pop cans that you use that you think is aluminum but is actually plastic coated. But how bad is the microplastics really? Today I'm diving into the science that actually tells us what is microplastic and how do they actually impact our metabolism, our hormones, our longevity. More importantly, what can we realistically do to protect your family, yourself, your spouse, your loved ones from microplastics and the damaging effects that they can have? You can't live in a bubble, obviously, but you can stop your body from becoming a plastic, essentially, storage unit for all these microplastics inside the world. So let's get into what microplastics are, where they're found. Microplastics are essentially small microparticles, nanoplastics are even smaller, that get into the water, they get into seafood, they get into plastic bags that are heated into your food. They are literally in airborne fibers that float throughout the atmosphere. And they're now detected in higher levels in human blood, lung tissue, and placental tissue than ever seen before in history. So microplastics, again, they're tiny plastic fragments. They're less than 5 millimeters, and they create a big, massive problem because bigger plastics, they break down from sunlight, from heat, from friction of movement or chemicals. And now they're found everywhere, right? They're in bottled water. They're in tap water, if you can believe that. They're in seafood. They're in processed food. They're in, obviously, plastic utensils and food containers, but they're also in synthetic clothing fibers like Viore and Lululemon, and they float through the indoor air. You inhale them. I remember seeing my Lululemon track pants. They were thin. When I got them, they were nice and thick, and then they started to become thinner and thinner, and I was like, okay, well, where's that going, right? It's going into your skin, it's going into your bloodstream, it's going into the air around you when you're working out or whatever. A 2022 Environmental International study made headlines by detecting microplastics in human blood for the very first time. And this meant that particles are literally entering circulation. Other studies have found microplastics in lung tissue, in the blood clots that have caused heart attacks and strokes, in placental tissue, in the endothelial lining of the arteries that has caused occlusion, that all the plaque buildup is in. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of how much plastic is in your body, okay? Microplastics aren't just in the ocean. They're inside of us. They're inside of our bodies. They're inside of our lungs and our tissues and our organ systems. So why are microplastics a concern when it comes to longevity? Look, microplastics, they act as endocrine disruptors. They carry phthalates, they carry BPAs, they cause oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction. They trigger chronic inflammation, it's called inflammation, and they impair gut barrier integrity, and they dramatically impact the microbiome. Cardiovascular risk goes up, metabolic disease risk goes up. So microplastics, they don't just sit in your body, they literally interact with your biology. First, they act as endocrine disruptors. You guys may have heard of xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are estrogen-like molecules that are literally found in plastics, in these nanoparticles of plastics and these microparticle of plastics. Many plastics, they carry chemicals like BPA, phthalates, and other mimicking hormones that interfere with our metabolism. In the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, in a 2021 review, they found that these chemicals, these microplastics and nanoparticles, contribute to insulin resistance. They contribute to weight gain. They contribute to infertility issues and thyroid dysfunction. Secondarily, microplastics, they cause oxidative stress and mitochondrial damage inside of your body. A 2023 environmental pollution meta-analysis showed that microplastic exposure increased inflammatory cytokines and damaged mitochondrial DNA in human cell studies. Third, They harm the gut. In the eBio medicine study in 2021 showed that microplastics disrupted the gut barrier, lending to leaky gut, chronic inflammation, overactivation of the actual immune system. All of this leads to accelerated biological aging, which scientists are now calling inflammation, right? So microplastics, they don't just pollute the planet, they pollute your cells. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped drinking out of those soda cans that are the organic, natural, sodas, because they line the sodas with literal plastic. So how worried should we be, really? I'm gonna get into the risk factors, right? Risk is real, but dose, the exposure of amount of plastics and the duration of the exposure, that matters. The most dangerous thing is from chronic compounding exposures, not just the one-time events. And the biggest vulnerable groups are children, they're pregnant individuals, and those with gut issues or high toxic load already. So here's the balanced truth. You don't need to panic, you need to have perspective. The risk comes from chronic accumulation of microplastics and nanoparticles, not just the occasional exposure. In 2023, Lancet Planetary Health Analysis estimated that the average person ingested 50,000 to 100,000 microplastic particles per year, depending on diet, water source, etc. That sounds terrifying, but it also means small daily changes dramatically lower your exposure. Should you worry? Well, you should worry enough to take action. You shouldn't lose sleep over it, but everyone has a different size genetic bucket. Everyone has different susceptibilities to toxic exposures. Should somebody worry if they get exposed to a little bit of mercury? Maybe if you have a big ability to handle toxic exposures like that, then you shouldn't worry. But most people that have smaller buckets and their capability of handling toxic exposures are decreased, yes, they should be worrying. Microplastics are definitely a problem, but you want to manage them, and they are manageable. This isn't necessarily a crisis to the point where we have to completely overhaul everything we're doing. It's just a call to make smarter choices day in and day out. So let's get into practical strategies to reduce exposure. You definitely need to improve water quality. You want to avoid heating plastics. You want to choose better cookware and storage ware. You want to reduce synthetic clothing and shedding from this synthetic clothing. You want to reduce processed and packaged foods. So here's how you ultimately reduce in detail, okay? Switch your water source. Reverse osmosis or high quality carbon filters remove most microplastics. That's what I use, and distilled water obviously does a good job as well. So bottled water is something that is a concern. Studies show a 4x increase in microplastic content compared to tap water. Here's some really crazy study from Puerto Rico. They found women were hitting puberty younger and younger, and their breasts were developing before the age of 10. And they were like, what is going on with all these women in Puerto Rico that are developing at younger ages? And what they found was it was the microplastics in the water that was being shipped in unrefrigerated containers. So it would come in the hot sun, it would essentially get cooked, and these girls and obviously their mom, their dad, etc., would be drinking out of these hot water bottles. And what ended up happening is the xenoestrogens would actually change their physiology and cause them to hit puberty years before they should. So the other thing that leads into my second point is you should never heat plastic. Literally, I can't believe when I go to these high-end restaurants or high-end 5-star hotels, they're literally boiling chicken in a plastic bag. And I'm like, how is this even like legal, right? Microwave safe plastic is not microplastic safe. It might be microwave safe, but you get microplastics still into your sandwich or into whatever you are cooking. It accelerates the shedding of the microplastics into your food. And you also want to upgrade cookware. I use stainless steel cookware, cast iron, In fact, if you're high iron, then you shouldn't use cast iron. If you're low iron, it's actually a good thing to use. Ceramics, silicone is good. You don't want to heat silicone. Siloxylates, I think they're called, from the silicone will secrete, and they're similar to microplastics and the damage that they can have inside of the body. But certainly non-stick plastics, you definitely want to move away from as well. So those are some key things that you want to do. And what I love is glassware. I use a lot of glassware in my house as well. And they come with plastic tops, but what I do is I put parchment paper on the top of the glass or the plastic container, especially if it's hot food like spaghetti or something like that. And you can prevent the plastic from actually touching the food, and then you just throw out the parchment paper when you're ready to eat. The other thing is to improve your indoor air quality. I'm literally an indoor air quality snob. I've got filters in my main house, main unit, and then I've got filtration systems throughout the house. I've got a air purification system in my room that dubs as a white noise system because it makes quite a bit of noise when it's purifying the air, and that's what I've been sleeping with over the last 15 years. But microplastics, they shed from carpets, they shed from synthetic clothing, from upholstery, and HEPA filters can help. We've used ozone air purification systems that can knock the particles out of the air and then onto the floor. And so there's a lot of different units out there that can do a really good job getting rid of the toxic pollutants. I also, like right in front of me right now is a cowhide rug. That's one way to get rid of plastic, is use actual natural materials. This is like hardwood floors, and a lot of people are using laminate floors. And those laminate floors that get beat down by the sun, they off-gas. So you also want to choose whole foods, ultra-processed foods. They contain and introduce more microplastics during manufacturing. In a 2023 food chemistry study, they found that microplastic contamination increased with food processing steps. So each food processing step that took place, the more microplastics there was. So definitely get rid of those processed foods. Consuming organic foods that are grown in your local area or in your own garden is paramount. So reducing microplastics is less about restriction and more about replacement, okay? Now, I wanna get into supporting detox pathways, because how the heck do you get this stuff out of your body? You need microplastics to get out of your body, and a lot of people have impaired detox in their liver and their gut, so let's talk about that. And a lot of people, they can't detox microplastics directly, but we can detox the chemicals that carry the microplastics. Glutathione, bioflow, antioxidants, gut integrity is absolutely important. And there's some things that you can do to actually address this. So you can't sweat out microplastics, but you can support the system that handles the microplastic related chemicals. So support your liver. You can support your liver with NAC, with glutathione, with milk thistle, with sulforaphane. All of those things can upgrade phase 2 detox pathways. In Nutrients 2020 review, what they showed is that NAC boosts glutathione quite dramatically and reduces toxin-induced oxidative stress. So that's really good for supporting your liver and then helping your liver get rid of the microplastics through your gut. So next is your gut barrier, right? So zinc carnitine, L-glutamine, probiotics maintain tight junctions and maintain the integrity of your gut, and that helps to reduce inflammation. You want to support your bioflow, so fiber, bitters, choline, TUDCA, right? That can help increase bioflow to eliminate the fat-soluble toxins. And then there's the support of the antioxidants like vitamin C, curcumin, green tea polyphenols. They counteract plastic-induced oxidative stress. And this isn't about flushing plastics, it's about strengthening the systems that protect you essentially from it. we have some mechanisms that I'll talk about in a second on how to get rid of microplastics out of the body. But one of the best ways is just to support the detox pathways that you have, and then allow for your body to help get rid of the detox pathways through the excretion, through your stools. And I believe you could probably do it also through your urine. I would love to see some research on that. All right, so I want to get into my personal microplastic mitigation routine. This is exactly what I do to stay resilient in this world of microplastics. I use a reverse osmosis water filter in my home. It has 5 different filters. I have a carbon filter for whole house filtration. So before it even gets to the reverse osmosis system, I actually have the water filtered in my house. I take my own bottle when I travel. So I have a stainless steel bottle and a glass bottle, but the glass bottles oftentimes break. So I stick with the stainless steel bottle. I avoid plastic food containers, obviously processed foods. Everything I store is in glass or stainless steel. There's also new corn-based Ziploc bags that we're starting to use, called Hold On, I believe is what it's called. It's called Hold On is the brand. I use HEPA air filters in my office with ozone that goes out throughout the house to knock down the plastic particles that are in the air. I pick clothing with natural fibers and fabrics. I do not use Viore and Lululemon and all that anymore. I look for 100% cotton, organic cotton, and or some of these more natural merino wool fibers that are really good for athletic performance and things of that nature. And I eat whole foods 80 to 90% of the time. It's minimizing the processed microplastic exposures. The other thing is that I support my detox pathways with N-acetylcysteine, with glutathione, with magnesium, with cruciferous vegetables. These aren't extreme, measures. They're just foundational. These small habits, they make massive protections when it comes to repeating them every single day. Now, before I get into my closing message, I want to talk about some really cutting edge things that we can start to utilize. The M filter, which is the microparticle filter, you can use to get rid of plastics out of your blood. This is something that is very exciting, cutting edge, and that is done, I believe, only in Mexico right now. The other thing, and I believe next year, or by the time you're maybe watching this, it could be released in the United States, which is very exciting. So that's the M filter. Now, another thing that you can do to get microplastics out of your body is to take binders that will help to bind to them in your gut. Now, this isn't something that goes systemic throughout your body, unfortunately, but if you support your detox pathways, then you'll be excreting the plastics and the microplastics and the nanoparticles out of your liver and into your colon and into your digestive system. And you don't want to cause what they call a retox effect, where it absorbs into the body. So the way to do that is to regularly be taking binders like humic and fulvic acid and things of that nature that will bind to the plastics in your gut and then pull them out of your body. So you can't live in a bubble, right? You can only make smart choices that dramatically reduce your toxic load over time. And the science is clear. Microplastics are everywhere. They influence inflammation, which drive cancer, heart disease, stroke, etc. They impact our metabolism, leads to obesity and weight gain, and they're linked to accelerated aging. But look, we're not powerless. Every filtered glass of water that we drink, every glass container that we put our food in, every real food meal that we consume reduces our exposure and really strengthens our longevity pathway. And if you start with one of these changes every single week, you really will start feeling the difference. So go ahead, if you've liked this information, subscribe for next week's episode. Also, post longevity in the title if you want to learn more about the strategies that will help to get rid of microplastics out of the body. And also post longevity if you're interested in the comment section, if you're interested in just learning more about how to remove toxins that will help us live a longer, healthier life. So would love for you to subscribe. We're going to get into more information on how to break down environmental toxins that accelerate biological aging, and how to reverse the effects of these things. And this isn't about fear. It's really about taking control of your environment and your biology as well. So thank you so much for listening, and please share this with your loved ones. This is life-saving information that could really make a big difference in the health and trajectory of their life. Thanks so much.